This is worth it.
Hello and welcome back to my solo playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Trilogy. In this episode we finish up the Druid Grove, we go and do a couple more random encounters, we get stronger, and we're just getting to that point where we really want that mage. I can taste it. This fight right here is super annoying if you're not a berserker, or if you don't have a way to resist that confusion. And here I screwed up. I didn't want Sarand in my party, so I allowed him to go fight Baldur, which means I skipped the encounter right in front of the Shadow Druid door here. Ordinarily you can get a +2 club, which is actually a reasonably good club. It gets overshadowed really quickly, but it's good to know about. And there's also a +1 flame sword, which is helpful, if for nothing else than to be killing trolls. Granted, it's redundant for me because I have this flame weapon already, but it's good to know about, and I missed out on a little bit of experience, probably a few thousand there. So kind of a piss off, but not the end of the world.
I'm there.
I didn't pay attention to where I got that Cleric Staff. Where the heck did I get that? Was it in, with the Rakshasa last episode? But anyway, that's going to be my weapon for quite some time. I wish I would have remembered to commentate on it, but now I'll say something about it. That's going to be a very good weapon for us. It'll completely replace the Staff Spear. There's no reason to be using the Staff Spear any longer. For the most part, piercing damage is the worst kind of damage, because a lot of enemies, undead in particular, are resistant or to piercing damage, and golems, obviously the clay golems, are straight immune to it. So blunt damage is the best damage type, as far as I can tell, in the game. So switching damage types, even if they were everything else being equal, it would still be an upgrade. But obviously, since it's a +3 weapon, then we can go kill the Iron Golem in the Diarnai's hold.
If it must be done.
And here we're going to do the Circus Tent. It's going to be a walk in the park. It's only going to take a few minutes. I kind of wanted to save it for when I was a mage, but I realized that I'm going to want to buy a bunch of stuff, so I'm going to want that Ring of Charisma.
It's probably best left to me.
By the way, the answer to that riddle is the prince is 30 and the princess is 40. If you struggle with that.
Who are you? Oh, whoever you are, you must flee this place at once. He's killed everyone else who has come into this place. Almost. Oh, please run.
When I was young, playing this through for the first time, and I didn't know how to do algebra, that was extremely difficult for me. I couldn't wrap my head around that riddle. Hell, I'm 25 now. I'm probably worse at algebra than I was back in the day.
My skin, it's real again. Oh, thank you, Beovar. Quail, and stop Kala before he does any more harm.
I am here to serve.
I don't remember whether I get experience for adding Aerie to the party. Maybe I should have added her and then just immediately gotten rid of her. That might have been the right course of action, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm not gonna be too bothered. I also missed out on like 150 gold or something because she's wearing an adventurer's robe or a knave's robe, something like that.
Yeah.
You must gather your party before venturing forth.
Well done. Back them, my shadows. If they be fools, my other beasts shall strike them down.
So I don't know whether that enrage actually took. I'm looking at it now and I don't get the little tooltip thing on my character's portrait. Maybe when my character is fatigued for those few turns after my first enrage, you can't enrage again.
You're okay.
Yeah, I'll see to it.
But that's the reason we did it right there, is that that charisma ring. So everything's just a little bit cheaper. I think the difference is about 10% of the item's cost. I was thinking to myself whether I wanted the girdle of bluntness or the girdle of piercing, and I think the blunt one is better. There's very few ranged attackers that are dangerous in this game. I'm trying to think of any. Really, the only time ranged is at all scary is at the very beginning of the Windsbury Hills. When you first go into Furcrag's lair, there's those two hidden doors with the orc archers shooting at you. That can be kind of a piss off if you don't have good illusion detection or open locks, or if you don't have a good form of ranged attack. For me, I'm going to be a mage by the time I do that, so I should be able to just cast Skull Traps and Cloud Kills, not have to worry about it too much. So there we go, we finally have that Robe of Vecna stashed away.
I'll see to it.
So you can tell I was trying to figure out what the hell to do. So I kind of come over here, waste a little bit of time, and then decide to leave pretty much right after I do this this intro with the Furcrag quest.
Time is up for you, my friend. Hold still.
So I took more damage than I should have in this fight. I critical missed like 3 times at least. And that's really the only way I can miss. I saw an attack roll up in there in the feed that was a 2, and that hit.
It's done.
What
But
goes
holy
on
cow, those
here?
guys are worth 6,000 XP apiece.
But the events of the past few moments tops them all.
At least that last one that I killed was worth that much. Also, I made a mistake and forgot that you rest as part of the this quest. So I tried to rest, had to fight a few random encounters. And these guys are worth no experience. I mean, 35 experience. And aside from that 1,000 gold, or the 1,000 experience from the infravision spell, The rest of it's not worth my time.
Ah, you have arrived. I thought you might. Best that you learn all you can of your situation before you go off getting killed.
You are welcome in my sight.
You're rather outlandish folk to be wandering round here.
I have to say this entire quest line is masterfully done. The Fur Crag quest line, I think it's probably the coolest one in the game.
I'm there. Time is up for you, my friend.
I will do what I can. This must end. I cannot live under this shadow, under his heel.
You'll see this a little bit later in my playthrough, but I get to a point where I'm getting a little bit frustrated with some of the random encounters. Being a single class mage essentially, before I get my fighter levels back, I'm getting a little frustrated with it. And I'm thinking to myself, man, why aren't I a multi-class?
If it must be done.
I probably would have gone for elf. You do miss out on that 19 constitution, but you get 20 in the dexterity, which would be reasonably helpful. I think it's one extra to your armor class, which probably translates into more HP or damage prevention than HP gained from the constitution. I don't have the numbers back that up, but if I had to guess, I would say that's the case.
Nature knows much of you.
Now, I forgot to pick up those damn acorns, so I was frustrated at myself, and then that lady was cheeky, so I decided to tear her up. I was mad that I didn't get the 20,000 experience from it. Mohavis pointed it out. I wouldn't have noticed. I thought for sure I had them, because I figured I'd do the same thing I always do, which is bring the acorns, but I guess I was dumb and left them. So I was mad, killed all these guys. I think this fight is maybe, I don't know, probably 8,000 experience total. So I lost 12,000 experience for not turning in those acorns. Not the end of the world, but I was a little frustrated with myself over it. And believe it or not, those 10 bolts of biting actually make you money if you identify and sell them. Even if you have to pay for the identify. Or the arrows of biting, I should say. I think I said bolts first. That's the worst part of being an archer. The archer class as a ranger in particular, but any range character in general, shooting anything than regular arrows feels like you're just shooting money. Like you can just feel the gold being lost from shooting. It's like, why the hell am I doing this? Why aren't I just being a Kensai and throw in the Azarej or something like a throwing axe or a throwing dagger?
It's probably best left to me.
But my point with why aren't I multi-classing? I guess the reason I chose to dual class rather than multi-class is because I didn't think that the fighter levels would scale quite as well into the late game as the mage levels, and I think I'm correct in that fact, or in that assumption. But at the same time, if you have the fighter levels, I mean, the reason you do that is so you get the extra HP, you get the extra Thaco, You get the extra attacks per round, and you get the weapon proficiencies. That's the reason you do it, rather than just being a single class mage. So it gives you a little bit more utility. And that was my thought process behind being a berserker as well. Is like, oh, I'd really like the utility of having this berserk spell. Just save myself a bunch of headache. But I don't know the process of being a single class mage after being a berserker has been a little bit frustrating. We'll see in the late game if it pays off. I think honestly, dual classing versus multi-classing, you only save yourself like a few levels of mage. You only get a few extra levels of mage, and additionally, you give up the hardiness, the greater whirlwind attacks, all those high-level abilities that fighters get. Which, granted, as a mage, you don't need that quite as much because you get improved haste. And you get all those defensive spells like Stone Skin and Mirror Image and Blur, Minor Globe of Invulnerability. All the good defensive spells.
What is it?
So I guess my point is, I think they're both good, and right now, as of recording this, I'm still stuck in the single class mage part of this character, so I'm a little frustrated. But we'll see once I get my class back. I'll probably be sitting pretty, feeling good
Give
again.
me some direction. Yeah, I'll see to it.
But before doing this character, I used to think to myself, oh, anyone who does the multi-class fighter mage is stupid. They shouldn't do that. There's no reason to do that. There is a reason. It saves you a lot of headache. But it also illuminates my biggest complaint of this game is the lack of variety when it comes to dueling and multi-classing, just because you can't duel and multi-class with kits. On dual class, obviously, you can't have a kit on your second class. So let's say I was a swashbuckler, and then I went to level 10 and I wanted a dual class to fighter. I couldn't be a swashbuckler Kensai, or I couldn't be a swashbuckler berserker, or that kind of thing. It's frustrating that you give up a lot of the really unique and interesting things about the kits just to have the two different classes.
Let me have a taste.
I guess from a balance standpoint, it makes sense, but doesn't mean I don't like it. I also wish you could dual class with more classes. I think one of the coolest class combinations would be a multi-class barbarian blade. You'd get all the utility from getting use any item, from getting like up to level 6 spells. You get the high levels on your spells, like your Skull Trap's going to do insane damage. You're going to get your Animate Deads really quickly because Bard levels up so fast.
Greetings, citizens.
And you also get the damage resistance from Barbarian. You get the extremely high hit point rolls because you're a D12 class rather than a D10. The damage resistance, if I haven't mentioned that, I think I did. And obviously, use any item in the spike traps and all that from being a high level bard would be really cool.
You will suffer. Oh, yes.
Scream! Scream!
Hold still.
A multi-class swashbuckler blade would be a super awesome class. That would be super fun because you'd get all your thief skills, you'd get all the spells and the benefits that I was talking about from the blade. The blade class ability is really great. It's essentially improved haste on that scales based off of your level.
Hey, not a concern.
You get the bonuses to your armor class and to hit and damage from being a swashbuckler. Maybe one of these days I'll have to look around for a mod that allows me to do that, because that would be, bar none, my favorite class. My favorite class combo would be a swashbuckler blade. You saw me get imprisoned there. I didn't know for sure whether Berserk would resist it, but here you go. Proof that Berserk resists imprisonment, or maze, or whatever that spell was. God, now I'm getting like a nerd boner talking about the damn swashbuckler blade. That'd be the coolest thing ever. I think swashbucklers can get improved Greater Whirlwind, too. Or the Greater Whirlwind, whatever.
I'll see to it. It's done.
Even if they don't, you can get up to probably 4 attacks per round. 3 at the very least. So if you do improved haste, you'd be up to 6. Or if you use the blade special ability, you'd be up to 6. That's really good.
You'll find them all in satisfactory condition.
Hello, me good smiling friends.
If it must be done.
Good to see a like-minded friend to be. Good to see a like-minded friend to be.
Let me have a taste.
Be honored, for you shall feed me.
And there you saw another fantastic reason why I'm being a Berserker. Apparently Berserk gives you immunity to level drain. Holy shit, is that good. And this makes me think of back in the Baldur's Gate 1 part of this trilogy. I was talking about the benefits, like the pros and cons of being a Berserker versus a Kensai. And all the stuff that you're seeing are just straight benefits to being a Berserker over a Kensai. Just the quality of life improvements that you get from Berserk. And the ability to wear armor just greatly outshine the slight damage bonus that you get from being a Kensai.
Give me some direction. I'm waiting. I don't get some healing.
The last episode or the episode before, I was talking about, maybe even this episode, I was talking about, oh, there aren't very many hard ranged attackers in this game. This is one of those fights that having a good ranged armor class is actually helpful. Those guys go to town with their bows and their crossbows. It's just crazy how much damage they put out. They probably dealt, I wouldn't say 300 damage to me, but at least, 250. And I had to chug a bunch of potions to live. Good thing I had that genie, because he was able to distract them, face tank a little bit of damage. Hey, you saw me pick up this Horn of Valhalla. Obviously I wanted that because I just want more people to take that growth for me. And here with the proficiency slot, I was not anticipating getting this. Let me know if you think I made the right choice. I chose short bows. I was considering doing halberds, considering doing flails. Yeah, I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. Maybe axes, maybe long swords, two-handed swords maybe. There are a lot of really good options for weapons. But I thought to myself, well, I'm going to be using quarterstaffs for the rest of the game in melee. I might as well try to pick up a ranged weapon that I think will be helpful. And obviously that short bow, Tancheron's bow or whatever, the one that I stashed in the copper cornet after doing the Hendak's slaver deal, that would be the weapon I would choose to use. If I ever need to do ranged, which I can't imagine I would ever need to. Now, I mean, if I was just being a fighter for the rest of the game, then maybe. But obviously I'm going to become a mage, so I'm going to have all those mage spells.
Yeah, I'll see to it.
Oh, and watching this reminded me that I can do the Buried Alive quest, which I will do very soon. There's a lot of little quests that are super easy to do that I wanted to save for being a mage, but I forget about them. So it's kind of nice doing this post-commentary so I can watch my own video back and be like, oh, that's what I forgot to do.
I'm there.
Ribald Bardaman at your service.
And yes, I know Captain Dennis and his mercenaries of Riot Haven, or whatever they're called. You can do the Limited Wish quest that involves them and some kind of like musical instrument, if I remember correctly. I don't know, but anyway, I know there's a quest that involves them. I just wanted that boomerang dagger. That'll be my main ranged weapon while I'm a mage.
If it must be done, it's probably best left to me.
And this Horn of Valhalla will be quite useful. The Berserker that you get from it does a ton of damage. When he doesn't attack you from going into enrage mode, then he's great. I think he's level 9 once you max out the horn.
Hello.
And a level 9 fighter is nothing to sneeze at. He does quite a bit of damage. And I think he has a good amount of health, probably around 100.
Yeah, I'll see to it.
So I guess you could almost consider him like
Find no better prices in arms.
give Minsk
Guaranteed.
a mace and a shield, and give him some leather armor and have him run around enraged. And I'd imagine the horn, the guy from the horn, is just as good as that. Obviously, depending on the level of Minsk, but he's really good. He's really, really good.
Sir, you look like a man who needs a good spell with his wife.
And eventually I do want to go grab Kithix from under the Graveyard District.
What is it?
Anyway, we're here in order to get the Umar Hills unlocked, because obviously there's that Bell Jewel inside the chicken. You'll see me do that this episode, and I figured I might as well
I beg of you,
do this for
free me.
Coney, I think.
I have done nothing to deserve this treatment. Praise the God.
Run for it!
I don't care about my reputation.
Time is up for you.
And I don't know. I just felt like doing it. I figured, why not?
Hold still.
But with that, for the rest of the episode, we're going to go to the Umar Hills, start that up,
You have saved me once again.
grab some of the quests from there, and go pick up the Baldur and finish up the Iron Horn of Valhalla. And then that will be this episode. Then after that, I believe we go and start the Umar Hills. So with that, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Who are you?
I hope this is worth it. Yeah, I'll see to it.
I've no time for to talk to you now.
Well met and welcome. Well met and welcome.
I've no time for to talk to you now.
Let's do this quick and pain.
Wow, an adventurer.
It's done. I'm there.
Have a look at my wares. I trust you'll find them all in satisfactory condition.
If it must be done.
Ribald Bardaman at your service.
It's probably best left to me.